Wild tribe for women, influencers, leaders, and dreamers. You are in for a treat today. We have a beautiful health coach and recipe creator. We have Marina. She is the creator of Soul in the Raw. She talks about everything from vegan eating to raw eating. She creates recipes. She does retreats. She does all kinds of things. She talks about everything across the barrage that it talks about being a soul in the raw woman. I would love to introduce you today. We have Marina Yanay-TinerWILD. Welcome.
Thank you so much. And you pronounced my name right. It's so tricky. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. I am just so excited to share your gifts and your energy and your love with the audience today. You have so many beautiful things that you do in the world. And you are not the type of woman who is not afraid to speak her truth and to bare her soul to the world. And I love that. Can you tell us more about Soul in the Raw?
So I started Soul in the Raw 4 years ago now when I moved from Jerusalem to San Diego, pretty much to do this because I had my parents' support and it was really helpful, when you just start a business. And it is, at first, it was a blog. And I really called myself a blogger at first. And then I realized that my passion is really coaching, health coaching. And I was really scared of it at first because it involved being really vulnerable and being open to people. And so I kind of pushed it off to the side and I said, oh yeah, I could be a health coach, but maybe not. But my certification was in health coaching. So at first I created a lot of recipes, which are still on the website. And now my focus and my passion is the health coaching, and I work one-on-one with people, helping them go plant-based, and also with group coaching.
You talked about how you felt like you wanted to do health coaching and you felt terrified because it was so vulnerable. I know that feeling, and I know that there's a lot of women who are watching this who are feeling that. Take us back to when you felt that and you felt the courage to keep going on. What kept you moving forward?
I was really scared. I kind of didn't know that I was scared, and I realized it through journaling and really connecting to that. And I created a little mastermind of women. We would meet every 2 weeks for like 3 years straight. And one of the girls was so amazing. She's really into coaching and she's really into mindfulness. She told me about a coach who works with coaches. And I said, well, I'm not a coach. Well, check her out. She's amazing, all this stuff. And so, your intuition kind of leads you in different directions, and sometimes you're not even aware what's happening. But I just started watching her. Her name is Lenka Lutonska. I just started watching her and I was so fascinated. She talked a lot about mindfulness, manifestation, things that were interesting to me, but I'm Ukrainian, so in my culture, it's really like the mind, the mind, not the emotion. And I was always the emotional one. I was born that way. I was always like that. And that wasn't really nurtured in me. So that's another part of the fear. And so when I started watching her videos, I totally fell in love, and I enrolled in her community, which was really for coaches. So I just kept being drawn, like I'm drawn and I'm drawn and I'm drawn. And then I realized that I was doing my business as a hobby. I really was. I wasn't making money for about 3 years at all. Maybe I was making $50 a month, something crazy. But I knew it was my passion and I wanted to keep going. And my partner was also like, you cannot quit. This is what you need to do. And he was really cheering me on, which I'm so lucky. And so then inside of that community, there was a woman that Lenka interviewed one day, and she was a therapist and a business coach. And she did hypnosis. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. I want to try hypnosis because as we talked before the recording, I deal with PTSD. I was sexually assaulted, and so was she. She was actually a survivor as well. So then I did a hypnosis session with her, and one thing led to the next. She became my business coach. And I realized I need a business coach to, to do this, because this is not a hobby. This is my business. And she was really the one that called me out, and she said, okay, go to all your social media and delete the word blogger. That is not what you want to be. That's not who you are at your core. You are a coach. And she really saw that in me. I'm so lucky that she did, because it's really what I love to do. But through all that journaling and the hypnosis work that I did, I realized that fear. And I realized that also when people want to step into their greatness, that's when the fear of vulnerability comes, because we have to be exposed. People will see like a lot of parts of us. And that was so scary, but I realized that's exactly what I need to work on and shed. And that's, you'll probably agree that it's the coolest part of business, is that you're always growing through business owner. If you want to make more money, you have to grow as a person all the time. At first, I was like, I don't like this. I want to resist. But then over time, I just really embraced that growth and just shedding every layer. So that was like, shedding that was helpful to make money and have a business, and then also to coach, to start coaching and working with people.
Love that you talked about being a part of a community, so important, having a business coach, because they see that. I was laughing because it happens all the time with me. Like, I sit down with my clients and they're like, well, I'm doing this, I'm going this direction. I'm like, but where's your heart at? You don't even get lit up by that. And so they're always like, you blew my mind. I had no idea I was going to do this. And I love that you spoke about that, because it's so true that we are always developing ourselves. And I correlate this, that in order to grow your business, you're really growing yourself. And it's such a cool process that is just continuous. What's been your experience after you took that leap? What was the biggest change between what it was like before and then after that experience?
I started having a business, which is amazing. And I started coaching people and realizing that my coaching is really unique, because I work on who they are as a person. Just with business coaching, as you said, it's also with food. It's not about food. I barely talk about food with my clients. It's really funny. Like, I give them a meal plan, and they all tell me after we work together for a month, that's how my program works, that it was nothing like they expected, because we literally barely talk about food, and we really focus on them as a person and growing as a person. So it's kind of like life coaching. And I realized that I'm really gifted at that. I don't want to be a therapist, but it's kind of in that healing direction. And I really enjoy it, because I get to see the parts of people that can grow, and the parts of them that are getting them stuck from doing the transition through the food is getting them stuck with everything in life, So once they change that, I've had clients who started businesses, for example. It's just getting them stuck in all kinds of areas. So I just really enjoy that. I enjoy the breakthroughs that they have. It's amazing. And one of the skills that I have that's not actually from being certified as a health coach is that for the last about 8-9 years, I've been a dialogue facilitator. So I work with groups. Mainly, I've worked with high school as well, with gender issues. But I mainly work with teens, Israeli and Palestinian teens, in dialogue about the conflict that's going on there. And that has been amazing, because I incorporate in that work a lot of self-development. And I was doing that before I even, thought or cared about self-development. So there's so many tools that I learned from doing that for so many years and working with groups for so many years. And in that group process, we also work with individuals and their self-growth journey. So all those tools, I just use them now for the coaching, and it's really cool.
I think a lot of people who are watching this can really relate with that, You talked about how you're working with Israeli and Palestinian kids and how that was pretty much the same process as what you do now. A lot of people who end up being coaches, when they look back, they realize they've been doing it all along. They just haven't called it a job or a business. And it sounds like that's your experience as well.
That's so true. It's funny you say that because I still have trouble. Like, I just traveled back to the region, to the Middle East, and people, a lot of my friends and family were like, tell me about work. And it's hard, like, it's really still hard for me. So it's a block that I'm also working on, talking about this as a business, because it's like, it feels like just my life and what I always do, because I always talk to my friends, for example, about not just their diet but just their life, and finding different blocks and what's holding them back, and they really come to me as a source of consult or coaching in a sense. And so yeah, it's very, very natural to me, and embracing that has been amazing. It's been a lot easier to embrace in the dialogue kind of realm, because it's not my own business. So I just get paid. It doesn't require me reaching out to people and doing sales conversations and taking ownership of the process. So it's really easy for me to say, oh, I'm an amazing facilitator. I've been doing this for almost 10 years. I am the oldest facilitator on the staff where I work every summer. And so people, like the new facilitators, always consult with me. So it's been a lot easier to step into that role and take ownership of it than my own business. But this is the process that I'm doing. But yeah, it's amazing. It's the same tools. And now in the last 2 years, I've started working with second year teens. So they've already been through the process. It's a 3-week program that they've already completed, and they're coming for the second year. And so really we focus on almost purely self-development. And they all say like, wow, I've grown so much this summer, even more than last summer. And also seeing like the conflict as a parallel to their self-development, just like food is a parallel to self-development. So yeah, it's something that I just really enjoy and love to do.
And that so embodies the wild tribe idea of, we're a tribe of women who are not just out there to create income, we're out there to create impacts. And I hear that that's what you're doing. And I also want to hook onto something you said for a minute. You talked about how it's easier for you to sell the idea or talk about the idea of you being a conflict resolution or doing conflict resolution than it is your own business. I can relate with that. And I know so many women out there can, because, my background is I was a very successful corporate salesperson, and it was so easy, boom, 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 boom. But then once I stepped out into my own business, I found myself like retreating with my prices, or retreating and pulling back to sell myself. And I couldn't understand what was going on until my business coach was like, oh yeah, that's normal, because it's vulnerable to you.
You're essentially kind of giving yourself your energy. You're selling yourself, like not selling yourself, but you know what I mean. Really interesting. I was really journaling on that this morning actually, and I realized how related it is to also being vulnerable and showing up, and all of the issues that it creates around deserving it or not deserving it. And maybe when I talk about it and I say, oh yeah, it's going really well, and I start talking about it, I'll make someone feel bad about themselves. That's kind of like what came up for me. And I was so amazed, like, no, but it's the opposite. When you shine your light, you're making other people, get more excited. And that's on a logical level. Of course, we have to like really feel into it and live that. But I'm just remembering something from previous questions. Something that I'm working on now as well is the just victimhood, like acting or being a victim. That is something that has been really present in my life, and I'm sure many business owners, and also has come from trauma and PTSD. And that's actually, I bring that into a lot of my coaching, because a lot of people, just like I did, and still working on, they really live their life as it's happening to them, and they're being reactive. And one really simple thing is just complaining. I'm Jewish, so it's really we complain a lot. It's in our culture. And that simple thing, complaining, or like just seeing every situation as it's happening to you, and you don't have ownership of it, just like in your business and in food and at work, anywhere. That is really something that has helped my clients, once they realize, to stop complaining. And in that moment, when they start to complain, I always tell them, catch those thoughts and turn them around to something positive that you feel in that moment. It can be even the smallest thing. And that really makes a huge difference. It's been making such a big difference for me too in my business.
That is so beautiful. And I just want to warn people who are watching, just in case, if anything about sexual assault is going to trigger you, you might not want to watch the rest of this. Just fair warning. We were talking before this interview about, us both being sexual assault victims, and how that is shaped how we are in the world and business. And something you talked about, which we were talking about before this interview, just to let you guys in on that piece, is that as women, especially women who've experienced that kind of trauma, we can view things with such a lens of safety, where I still, to this day, it's a practice and it's awareness. I hear anything like a new change, something that's going to happen, and I automatically think the worst. It's just how I am. And as women, especially business owners, as soon as you step out into that thing, almost every single woman I've worked with, all of a sudden, all of your insecurities and all your stuff comes to the surface. It's just going to happen. And I talk about this kind of stuff in my community a lot, because I don't want to be the type of coach that just feeds you lip service and is like, oh, business is great, everything's great. I talk about the real stuff like you do, and I want to be honest with people. So what was your experience, or did you have an experience like that? And can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, totally. When you said change, it's like, it's so huge, because when change happens, the first thing is, I'm not safe. I'm not safe. I can't control. So it's a lot about control and feel. And I'm still like, just like you, I still struggle with it. And I have to remind myself, like, one of the things that's really great is that when I start eating a lot, that is like a really good cue. Like, okay, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling unsafe. I want to layer on, the fat and just like cuddle myself with my food. So it's a really good cue that I can pay attention to. And it says, I'm not safe. My brain says. And in our business, we obviously can't control things all the time. We can't, we set expectations of, oh, this is how much I want to make this month. And then it doesn't happen. Oh my God. Like, I went through a year of, every time it didn't happen, I would just be in bed for a week wallowing. Whole week, and I couldn't function, I couldn't work, and then I would be upset with myself that I wasn't functioning. So that, I think, a huge thing that helped me is, as I said, the victim piece, because even right after I was assaulted, it's really interesting, but I remember thinking, okay, Marina, now your journey is going to be all about stopping to feel like a victim. But it took me a really long time. It took me actually understanding that I enjoy that. Like, first of all, I enjoy telling my story to people because they feel sorry for me, and it felt good. Like, and it was really hard to say that. I felt really like gross with that thought. I can't believe I enjoy like people feeling sorry for me, but I really did. And I enjoyed the attention. And I think that was happening because when I was assaulted, no one really acknowledged it, and no one, people didn't believe me for a really, really long time, including my family, my friends, everyone around me. So I really needed that. And a lot of it turned around when I actually met my offender in the police station, and I spoke, in front of him, and I just said everything I wanted to say, which was, I was so scared for months before. It was a huge ordeal, but once I was there, I really, like, something crazy happened. I don't know how to explain it. It was like a divine moment, and I just said everything I had to say. And I totally shut him up when he was trying to discourage me from speaking. And I literally just said everything. And all I wanted, I didn't even care about going to court or, anything like that. I really, really, really just wanted to meet him and say everything I had to say. So after that moment, I realized, okay, like, now I kind of feel sorry for him, because I feel really powerful in, the knowing of what happened, and just I feel powerful in that.
Mm.
And I'm pretty sure that he also came from trauma to do something like that. So I kind of acknowledged that, and it was really healing, that whole process. And now I think that I started a business. It's not it's not really encouraged in my family. We're not entrepreneurs. Like, I never really met anyone who had a business. Like, it wasn't a thing that I thought, oh yeah, I'm going to start a business always since I was a kid. It was like, you're going to be a lawyer and that's it. You're going to be secure. And everyone was really discouraging around me when I started a business. And I think that it happened, and it's happening as a way to help me continue this journey of shedding that victim mode and mentality since I was 15. And I knew that I had to do that. And that's like part of my journey, and also helping other people do that, because I think we all do it. It's not just people who are survivors or have trauma, even though we all have trauma, but we all say, oh, it's because my parents raised me this way. Oh, it's because, like, different experiences. And of course it has an impact, but now we get to choose what we're going to do with that. So that's kind of my message.
Wow, I am blown away about how synchronistic this right now is. What, this happening right now is just, it's blowing me away, because yesterday I just talked about, you shared so many beautiful nuggets in there. Yesterday I just did a talk about forgiveness, and after my talk, several women reached out and were then sharing all these stories that were very similar to what we're talking about today. And I was in tears, because I was thinking about how my attacker was a family member. And so there was a lot of secrecy around it. There was a lot of shame. There was a lot of guilt, to the point that I was threatened into silence. And that transformational work of being the little girl who was so quiet and afraid to even speak up for herself, to now be in front of an audience of hundreds of people and use my voice, that's my common thread. And I hear that in your story. And I'm just blown away by the synchronicity of that, what you're saying is even though our stories are different and we have different backgrounds, we're different types of coaches, that we can be bonded with such a common thread.
That's amazing. I never connected that, being silenced, and now you're talking to thousands of people. That is really, really amazing. And I bet that was like a hard process to even like accept, okay, now I'm going to speak out to so many people. That's incredible.
Oh yeah, I remember even putting myself on Facebook, like Facebook Lives, or putting out YouTube videos, was terrifying. And I'm sure a lot of women watching this can relate, because there's still a layer of protection over this person, even though he's now passed. I was afraid of how my family was going to react, even though there's still, I share details, but not everything with everybody, of course, because that you don't have to. I think that's another thing that women really need to hear. You don't have to share your entire life, but sharing what you're comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely.
You are so strong. When you said that
you, I'm
no,
so cool to connect this way, and like we didn't even expect it.
I definitely was not expecting it, but it's so cool that this happened. And I'm seeing there's no doubt or any doubt in my mind why this happened today, right now in this moment. And the fact that you went and faced your attacker is so cool. And I love when you talked about how you were so hooked onto that story, because, you know, this can happen. It can happen, and it's not making anyone wrong. I don't want anybody to hear that. I just want to hear the process that you talked about, how you were so attached to that identity, and you were attached to the significance that it gave you to be like, oh, I'm a victim. This is what happened. Because I too have been through that. I ended up, you know, having a whole decade of drinking and all this stuff because I was still so attached to that victimhood, and it gave me significance. The power in that is that you can turn that around and take responsibility, not saying that what that person did is right, not saying that at all, but you gained the freedom.
Yeah, yeah, totally. And that's what people say about forgiveness. I don't know. It's a weird concept, forgiveness, to me. I'm not like angry anymore at this person, but I would say that it's kind of crazy, but I would say that it's shifted for me to empathy, actually. This is how I feel. You know, we're all different. But what I wanted initially, I actually didn't want to go to the police. I wanted to go to restorative justice, which is something that they do in the U.S. like with teens in school that fight. So instead of taking them to court, they'll sit down and they'll talk with a facilitator for many months, and then eventually they will kind of come to a resolution together of what the offender can provide the survivor of that event. So I really wanted to do that. And actually, the woman who does it in Israel, she came from the rape crisis centers where I also worked, actually. And she just realized that it wasn't, the justice process was not just for survivors. It wasn't giving them the emotional relief that they needed. So she started the restorative justice, and I really wanted to do it, but she refused to do it. So luckily, I was kind of in a sense able to do it in the police station. And like you said, shedding the victim identity, it's really hard. It's really painful, and it involves you sitting down and being really real with yourself of what you gain and what you lose. Because you do gain things from it. It feels really good, you know, but you lose your freedom, just like you said, and your empowerment. And it's really cool because my realization came when I did hypnosis around emotional eating. And one of the things that was really strong is when you complain, it makes you eat emotionally. In hypnosis, I was like, I don't get it. How is this connected? You know, like for instance, when you're sitting in traffic and you're complaining, oh my God, how annoying, there's so much traffic, why am I here, why am I, you know, all this stuff in your head, then it makes you emotionally eat. And so I had to reflect on that for a long time, and I realized that it's just the victim mentality in every aspect of your life. You feel like a victim, things are happening to you, therefore you need to eat to protect yourself, to feel better, to shut things down, to shut down your emotions. And so that link was created. And yeah, I think that process of shedding the victim role and victim thinking, which I'm still doing, like I'm still shedding that. It's hard work. It really gives you freedom. It gives you the ability to grow, to make more money, to have more meaning in your life, and just to be happier. At the end of the day, it's about being a happier person. So even though you may think that being in that role makes you happy for the moment or gives you comfort, it doesn't actually make you a happier person at the end of the day.
Wow, so much of what you said just is beautiful. That whole idea of letting go of the victim mentality and it being a continual process. Because I think a lot of women, excuse me, get caught up in that idea that, well, I'm not perfect yet. so how can I be teaching, or how can I do this when I'm not perfect? And it's just doing it and learning in the process and realizing that we're always growing. None of us is going to reach this perfectionism or this ideal place and be like, "Woo, I arrived. I'm done."
Yeah, and the same, like my coach always tells me that the same money blocks, for instance, they show up at every level of your career. Even if you're a millionaire and you're trying to go to two, like let's say you make a million and you want to go to, I don't know, 5 million, let's say. It's the same blocks of when you want to go from 1K to 5K, for instance. So it's really funny, but we always have it. And you can really use it in coaching, because I actually, like, as I was deep in this process, I recognized it in my client, and he was like blown away because he was really struggling to transition to plant-based eating. And I was like, okay, we're gonna just have a mindset conversation. We're not gonna talk about food at all, because you know all the stuff, you know it's good for you, you know it helps you, and that's what you want to do. It's gonna lower your cholesterol, your blood pressure. You already know, but you're not able to do it. The knowledge is not enough. So we just talked about it, and I asked him, well, how do you feel at work? Describe to me. And how do you feel here and here? And he was literally using the same words to describe every area of his life, which is like, I'm a victim and this is happening to me. And I helped him understand that he doesn't see other choices. Like, he's always stuck in the one thing of like, I'm complaining, I feel bad, and there's no other choices. They don't exist. Because he was having issues at work, and I said, well, have you ever told your boss? Nope. And so I said, well, you can actually like tell him something. So it was funny. I mean, it was really powerful actually, because it made him realize the connection of living this way and all of the different areas that he was doing it. And it really, really helped him eat healthier. And he was like, how do you know? And I was like, well, because I do the same thing. So it's really helpful, because number one, you can be compassionate to that person. You know how hard it is, and you know how stuck we are in it, whatever it is, whatever pattern of or behavior. And you know how you're kind of like your plan of getting out of it. So then you can really share that with the other person. If you don't go through it, it's really, it's not as helpful, I think, to the other person if you haven't gone through it in the past or going through it now. So I found that it's really helpful. But I know what you mean with like imposter syndrome and everything. We all have that.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. I could just talk to you all day. I could see us having this like 3-hour long conversation. However, I don't want to take all of your time. So could you tell us about, I know you have a retreat coming up. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. So November 1st through 3rd, I am hosting a retreat with my friend who's a yoga teacher, and she's going to do breath work, which is amazing for anyone who's never done it. Yoga, we're going to be doing circles of talking and listening, like what I've talked about a little bit here. We're going to do plant-based cooking classes. All the food is going to be really healthy plant-based food. And it's going to be in nature. It's this beautiful ranch in Escondido, which is San Diego County. Gorgeous. No Wi-Fi in a lot of the area, so it's perfect. You can, walk away from your phone, your computer, just really be in nature, connect to other people, eat good food, move. We're going to hike. It's going to be a beautiful experience.
And where can people find out more about that, and where can they find you?
So I can give you the link to share. It's soulintheraw.com/retreat is where all the information, the accommodations, the pricing, and everything is. And soulintheraw.com is my website, and Soul in the Raw on Instagram, and then on Facebook, it's Marina at Soul in the Raw.
Beautiful. And you have a gorgeous gift to offer the watchers today. Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, we didn't talk much about plant-based eating, but I will say just real quick that the main way that I started this journey of just, finding my power and my control, not control, but mainly my power and my strength in life, has been through plant-based eating and just realizing that I have power over my body physically, which we know that as survivors can be really difficult to step into. The body, you know, so many issues with it. So that's really how it started. And so that's the thing that I share is plant-based eating and how to eat in a way that's number one, science-based, evidence-based to promote health. And number two, just gives you the feeling that your genes don't control your body and what diseases you're going to have or how healthy or how energetic you're going to be. So this is a 7-day plant-based challenge. It's super simple. You're going to get the grocery list for the week. You're going to get meal prep instructions so that during the week you are spending minimum of your time in the kitchen, and also live pre-recorded live videos that you're going to watch throughout the week that are going to teach you about all these things: grocery shopping, meal prepping, how to be plant-based. So it's awesome. I've had thousands of people go through it already, and I'm sure your audience will love it.
Thank you so much. What a generous gift. I'll have to sign up for that too. I'm excited. Thank you. Absolutely. And thank you so much for contributing your wisdom, your knowledge, and having a real, beautiful, raw, soul in the raw conversation with us today. It has been so amazing having you. And I know that the women watching this are going to just love this conversation and what you've offered it. Thank you so much.
And you get my name. I'm so excited about that.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.